Welcome back to the vendor table.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No complaints.
Season going good?
It's all right.
Yeah? How many weddings you got? I'm grilling.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Should I know?
No, because I don't know.
No idea.
Let's track. I don't fucking
A bunch.
know. Yeah, I've done a lot. I don't know, like 15, 20.
I'm still in my
right
little break.
Yeah.
So
Same.
I'm just second shooting right now for the rest of this month. I have one with you this weekend.
Yeah, you're with me this weekend. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day.
Send me that timeline.
Oh, yeah, I should do that. It's Tuesday.
As a reminder.
Wedding's on Saturday. should do that.
Pat's out of town this weekend for his grandmother's funeral, so I am solo parenting this weekend and also shooting a wedding. And so he's going to his grandma's. Peace.
All right.
That's pretty much it. Nothing crazy. It's the usual. But yes, I am second shooting quite a bit this year.
Second shooting. And
that's what we're talking about.
And we're going to talk about it today.
Yeah.
I think our most requested episode. Every day, I think somebody requests like us talking about second shooting, how you get into it, like what do second shooters need to do for you, like there's so many things, like are second shooters allowed to share images? Like we get so many questions about second shooting, associate shooting, all of that. So we're just going to do a whole episode on second and associate photography today.
Yeah, this is photographer specific. Don't be mad at us. We did not even make this podcast with the intention of making it for all vendors, but here we are, speaking for all vendors.
Yeah, this was originally going to be a photography podcast, and it kind of branched into
here we are,
a wedding podcast and all that stuff. But you know, we are photographers at heart, and we do have a lot of photographers. I think around 65% of our audience is photographer or video based. So we do have a large audience that we want to appeal to, and this is easily, by far, our most requested episode that we've had in a long time.
So we got to talk about it.
So we're going to talk all about it. With you second shooting for me, second shot for me a bunch.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
How many years have we been friends now?
I don't know. 3?
I think it's 3.
3. Yeah, during COVID, right? During COVID?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like 2021?
2021.
Yeah, we started like
3
talking.
years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It feels longer.
It does feel longer.
It's just like sucked the life out of me, I guess.
My bad.
I'm joking. No, but you have second shot for me a bunch.
Yes.
I want to say about like 10 times now, something like that. It's got to be in that ballpark almost.
Probably about there, yeah.
Yeah. But I've never second shot for you. I haven't had the opportunity to second shoot.
You're too busy.
I am too busy. If I second shoot, it's really just to bail somebody out.
My second shooters are your second shooters.
Yeah, pretty much. She uses all my second shooters. I have a big stable.
My bad.
I have someone said this to me. It's like you have like the like in football, in American football, they have a thing called the coaching tree. So it's like the big name coaches have like their assistants, and then their assistants become head coaches and stuff like that. So people always say like they come from like the Casara coaching tree, and I'm like, what? I'm like this is a thing. And it's like, yeah, like you have a lot of like names that have gone on to have like big businesses, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I have. Like I've had some really talented photographers as my second shooters for a few years and everything like that. And now I'm watching them like be amazing main photographers.
I have 2 new second shooters this year, so I'm very excited to work with them. But I mean, let's talk about how we even find second shooters. Yeah,
like that's the main question, is like, how do you find a second shooter? Well, easiest way is an Instagram message, a story like, hey, looking for a second shooter on this date. Send me your portfolio, send me your resume. Social media, we talk about it all the time, but social media is the biggest resource for marketing and advertising and job listings. Like, I'll be honest with you, if you're a photographer, you're most likely on Instagram, and other photographers are most likely on Instagram in your area. You should post a story like, hey, I need a second shooter. Like, give like a good amount of time,
right?
You don't want to be posting this like, unless it's an emergency. You don't want to be posting it like 2 weeks before expecting to get somebody.
You want to just say something like the last one that I did was, I'm looking to expand my team, because as photographers, once you start learning more and you are a solid second shooter, then you start working for other people, or you start your own business, you get too busy and you just aren't able to accommodate the amount of requests. So, you need to have more reliable good second shooters.
Yep.
So I posted looking to expand my team and take on a few new second shooters. And I got a good response. A lot of people who listened to the podcast wrote in and were like, I live in Indiana, but I'd love to second shoot for you. I love you all, but please stop. I cannot.
You want to fly out? You want to fly out? I mean, I don't know how much of a resource.
I would love to have you, but it's just not possible. So I had a bunch of people respond, and the first thing I want to see is your portfolio. Mm-hmm. I gotta see what you produce.
Yeah, you gotta have a portfolio of images, not just an Instagram. You gotta show a variety of imagery, and most photographers are going to ask second shooters, like personally, like if I have a second shooter, they're most likely capturing like secondary prep. So that's usually a groom prep, or if there's another bride or another groom, a secondary bride or groom.
Correct.
So with that being said, like I want to see prep shots. I want to see the wedding day prep. I want to see all of that. So I want to see how you capture bride or groom getting ready in the morning. I want to see how you capture details. I want to see how you capture portraits. Portraits are usually the easiest part, though.
That's the easiest part.
Okay, that's the easiest part. I don't really care your portrait ability, because to be honest with you, I'm probably going to use about 10% of like your portrait shots personally here. I want to see how you capture ceremony. Ceremony is important. Those secondary angles, how are you getting creative, how are you getting those different angles. What are you doing for details in like a room, okay, like a reception room, things like that. How you capture receptions. Are you are you comfortable with off-camera lighting?
Yep. Like, can you use flash? Like there's a lot of things that I need to see in like a wedding that you've shot. Yep. So I need to see a portfolio. I need to see the body of work. And a lot of times people will say, well, what if you don't have experience but you want to get into second shooting? You shadow.
Yeah, you shadow, you third shoot, you shoot for, not to say free, but shadowing is usually, you're watching another photographer, that photographer will let you shoot like over their shoulder and things like that to capture those moments. I have shadows all the time. Like I have interns, shadows, they come for a day. They work as long as they want, kind of thing. Usually they're unpaid for it because they're just there on their own time. They're not helping or anything like that. They're just learning. They're learning. So usually if I have a shadow, I'll tell them this is how I'm doing things. They see how I work, see when I'm using lighting, when I'm not using all that stuff. So shadow, learn, see how, watch videos too.
Yeah, you need to. I mean, everybody wants somebody that's going to be technically proficient too. The worst thing that you could possibly do is show your best work and then show up and not know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
You can, there's some photographers out there who are new who can take great photos, but that may be only 5% of what they've taken. And that's very confusing for people,
So you need to be proficient in a lot of different areas. You also...
We need to know your gear.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, as a second shooter, you need to have proper equipment to be a second shooter. It's okay if you're shadowing and you don't have the right equipment yet because it's not necessary. But as a second shooter, you really need to have proper equipment to be a second shooter. You need at least 2 cameras with dual memory card slots.
Dual slots,
multiple lenses, not just one lens. You need at least 2. Let's be real here. You could get away with 2. Personally, I think you should have 3, a wide, a portrait style like a 50 or an 85, and then a longer lens telephoto like a 135 or 70-200, something like that. But I think the gear is important. As much as we say gear is not that important, you need to have backups. So you need to have a main camera and a backup camera. You need to have multiple lenses. You need to have multiple flashes, just in case something goes wrong. But a camera with dual memory card slots. It just happened to me.
One of my flashes, it just shit the bed.
Yeah.
Got a backup.
Yep. You got a backup. Back it up. Always got to back it up. I have 3 flashes in my bag at all times. Because 2 usually live on the camera, and then I have one as a room flash, but it's also a backup flash just in case. So you need to have the equipment to be a reliable second shooter. I'm always going to ask that question if somebody inquires with me. I'm going to ask to see the portfolio. I'm going to ask to know what your gear is.
Yes.
So you know, a lot of people are like, oh, gear's not that important. It is. It is for a wedding.
It actually is.
It really is.
For sure.
So once you feel comfortable, like a lot of people have asked us, like, how do you know, like, you found the right second shooter for you? Right? There is a lot that goes into second shooting that is beyond just being a good photographer. You have to mesh well, personality wise.
Yeah, that's huge.
The worst thing is working with somebody all day long and you're not getting along.
And you're just like,
you know, and some photographers are like, you know, what do you do if you're in competition with your second shooter?
That should never be an issue.
We talked about that, but never be in competition with your second shooter. You need to lay out the ground rules
ahead of time,
way ahead of time. Like, I tell all my second shooters before they start working with me, like, how I like to do things. Like, here's how I like to do groom prep. Here's how I like to do this. Capturing ceremony. Like,
I'll send them a gallery to look through. They'd be like, this is how
the day looks.
This is how I like to do it. Hands in pockets, or you know, like no phones in the pockets, and like all these things with the groomsmen or guys. But also, you know, not to shout out the Legal Paige again, but she has on the website a second shooter agreement. So a lot of this stuff is built into a contract ahead of time that you sign with a second shooter. Now, depending on your relationship with your second shooter, some people do and don't have agreements. They just have like a verbal understanding.
Yeah.
But it's smart when you're signing on somebody new who you've never worked with before to establish boundaries. And I think like one of the things that people have written into us quite a few times now is about second photographers posting images.
Yeah.
Where's the line?
Yeah. Where do you draw the line as a photographer, as a main photographer? Do you let your second shooters use their images in their portfolio on social media? Do you let them use imagery? Like, do you let them use the images that they captured? Personally, I do. I also have stipulations to how they use those images. So for me personally, what I do is in that second shooter agreement, it kind of states that how you could use the images. You could post them in your portfolio, edit them the way you want for your portfolio. Okay? You can post them on social media, but you have to wait for me to post those images first. Number one. Okay? Number two, you cannot tag any vendor, venue, couple, location. Okay? That is completely off the table.
That opens the door for those vendors to contact your second photographer to try and get those images, and it's not their not their lane.
It's absolutely. 3, you are not allowed to submit to any publication, blog, anything like that. Okay, those images are copyright of the main photographer. You cannot sell those to like a publication or try to get those featured in a publication. That is a absolute no-no. We don't do that. So those are like really the 3 ground rules that I have. I have really never had an issue. I had an issue one time and I never worked with that second again. So,
yeah.
But really, those are the 3, I think, main ground rules that I've established. Do you have any others that you add?
Mine are pretty much the same. Mike and I like to allow our close seconds the ability to post on social media because we want them to grow.
Yeah.
This is not for everybody, though. You know, we understand and acknowledge that other businesses don't operate like that. But we want to see our second photographers who have been with us for a very long time, like Joe, Meredith.
Yeah.
We want to see them succeed on their own and eventually, you know, sprout wings and fly off like the little beautiful butterflies that they are.
Yeah. So this episode is sponsored by the Legal Paige. Legal Paige is a legal education platform for small businesses as well as a contract templates shop. They help you get legally legit in minutes. So we're super excited to partner with them. But Lauren, I know you've been using a Legal Paige contract for a long time, right?
I sure have. I love it. It protects me against anything that you could possibly think of. It's a brick. It's one of my favorite parts about my business. I'm so proud of it because it's just like got everything that you can think of. And available in their shop are different amendments, different clauses, and you can find anything there. Any situation that you could possibly think of, that website has it.
Yeah, they have everything like short forms and a la carte clauses. So whether you're a photographer, videographer, planner, florist, DJ, you name it, the Legal Paige has a contract that will make your business legit.
All the contracts have been reviewed and critiqued by industry-leading professionals and come with a free future updates made by the Legal Paige's legal team.
And if you guys didn't know this, but Paige is a retired wedding and family photographer, as well as an attorney. So she has a very unique perspective and expertise when it comes to photography contracts.
The Legal Paige offers free education through their blog posts, podcast episodes, and their YouTube channel.
So one of the cooler things also is that we're partnered. We have a special link in the show notes that you could check out her whole shop, everything like that, get yourself legally legit. But you could use code TVT10 and that gets you what?
It gets you 10% off anything in the shop, which is awesome.
Awesome. So definitely get yourself legally legit. Check out the Legal Paige.
Best money I've ever spent.
Check it out in the show notes.
We just want to give a special shout out to Maru, one of our sponsors. Maru is a modern payment experience for the weddings and events industry.
Maru has added some incredible new features, including the ability to send contracts, create itemized invoices, and our personal favorite, the ability to pay contractors.
Love this.
Yeah, like that makes me so happy to have a platform that if I need to pay like an associate or a second shooter, I'm paying them right through Maru. It just goes right to their bank account, makes things so nice and easy.
It's also so neat and organized.
Yeah.
You can find anything.
Super organized. Like, I love it because I'm just like, hey, I got to print it out at the end of the year, send my accountant over for tax purposes and all that stuff.
Perfect.
It keeps things so nice and neat.
Maru is a community of 10,000 plus wedding and event professionals, and it's growing. They offer seamless transactions and a hassle-free payment experience. They make it easy for you to focus on what you do best, creating memorable experiences.
So we went over, but with Maru, you could create and share your contract, accept and make payments without processing fees, offer clients a simpler experience, no need to sign up, just pay and go, and pay your contractors, something we both love. So it also keeps all your payments neatly organized in the central hub. You could sign up for free at maru.us/TVT.
So we allow them to do that.
Yeah.
Now with newer seconds that I have, I don't let them do that right away.
No, same. Like they sign an agreement, and I lay out the ground rules. Big time.
I want to know that we have a good relationship ahead of time first, and that they're going to be reliable. Like they're going to show up.
Yeah, and show up on time.
Show up on time, do what they're supposed to do, ask the right questions, do the right things, produce the quality of work that I would want for my business before I allow them the ability to do so.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, I've shot for other photographers who don't allow you to use the images. And that's, again, I respect it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, I personally, when I second shoot for other companies, I don't want to post them because I don't feel like I did much of the work. I took the photos, but I didn't do the directing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I personally, I only post my own weddings.
Yeah. And you're also a lot more established. You have a lot more of your own clients. You're
Correct.
second shooting for, really on occasion to keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
But
kind of just for funsies.
yeah, a lot of second shooters, they use it as their main source of income or bonus income, stuff like that. So they want to grow, so they want to use those images. And
Yeah.
I understand that because I was a second shooter at one point, and I worked for a studio that they didn't allow me to share any of those images. So
when I worked for a studio, I shot hundreds of weddings and wasn't allowed to post them.
Yeah.
And that killed me.
Yeah, the one thing a lot of people are like, well, then how do you grow as a photographer, right? If I'm not allowed to share those images, how can I grow as a photographer? You could still edit those images, put them in a private gallery, right? Edit them like it's your wedding, okay? And put a private gallery, and then if a couple inquires, you can share that with the couple. Okay? Privately. You could ask other those photographers, can I use 1, 2, 3 images? Like maybe they'll approve it. I won't, tag all that stuff. You could reach out and ask. They might say no still, but it's worth a shot. It's always like if somebody asked me, can I post these images if they were newer? I'd probably say yeah. But you have to wait for me to post or something like that. Like I have my stipulations and guidelines.
It's really just like a respect thing. You know?
Respect if you're a second shooter, you need to respect the main.
And just ask if something is unclear.
Yeah.
Don't just do things thinking it's don't ask for, don't do the ask for forgiveness, not permission. Ask for permission, please.
Yeah. Ask for permission to post photos and do that stuff. And I will say, I think most main photographers will, unless they really know the person, like I don't think we have I don't think I made you sign a second shooter.
No.
Because I'm like, I mean, Meredith though, like when she first started working with me, because I didn't know her at the time. But I've told her, my goal with a second shooter is never to hang on to that second shooter. It's to watch them like really evolve their business, get better, experiment, like grow as a photographer, and then, watch that baby bird leave the nest.
I know. Every now and again, you'll find somebody who's more comfortable second shooting and they never really want to do lead. And that's fine too. You may hang on to that person for a while or until they decide this just isn't for me anymore. But it's much more common to see somebody just learning how to get better and then finally just flying off on their own.
Yeah.
And
it's very satisfying to see that too. Like I've watched a lot of photographers blossom into incredible shooters that now have really well-established businesses. And I'm like, kill it, keep killing it. Like, so you want to see that. You don't want to hold on to these people too long. You really don't, because there'll be form a little bit of resentment there and everything like that. You want to see them evolve and grow. And, unless they really like to second shoot for you. Like you've second shot for me. Like you do like 5 to 7 weddings a year for me. Cause I guess like you like to have fun.
Yeah.
My couples are awesome.
It's fun.
I have good couples too.
Yeah.
So yeah. But but no, like Meredith, like while she's, trying to become her own main photographer and everything like that, like she's still doing like 15 weddings for me. Like she's still my main second shooter.
Yeah.
Joe's doing 10 weddings for me. So I have I have my team doing, my 3 main second shooters, the last 3 years have been pretty much the same, and they still want to keep shooting. So I'm like, okay, like I'm going to keep them going, but I am adding new seconds into the rotation because less dates are being taken because, seconds are more busy. So,
correct.
I understand that. So, I think there's a lot of things that with second shooting that a lot of people have asked us that we wanted to cover off there. The next phase, though, if you're growing your business and you're a photography-based business, this could also apply to, planners and other vendors in the industry.
Before we touch on that.
Yeah. What did we not touch on?
The no-nos.
We kind of touched on the no-nos.
There was one more thing, though,
What was there?
Don't solicit people for your own business when you're second shooting.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
This is huge. Do not do this. It's so rude.
Yeah, don't hand out your business cards.
Don't hand out your business cards for your own brand when you're second shooting for another company. That is not okay.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
A couple of people have approached us about their seconds doing this at weddings. Not okay. That's when you drop someone. It's
a good way as a second to get yourself blacklisted.
Yeah.
From a whole
You'll
community.
quickly get blacklisted from the community for something like that. That is not cool. Don't do it. Chances are, like, if that photographer isn't booked, they're going to refer you.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, if somebody comes up to you at a wedding, like, and asks for like a business card and everything like that, you give the main photographer's information, or you tell the main photographer, hey, that person was looking for, your card or anything like that.
Like, I'll even give my seconds my card sometimes. Like, if somebody asks, like, they can give that to them. But, reciprocally, I don't think that's a word.
To reciprocate?
To reciprocate. Like, when I'm booked, I will refer people to my second, to Meredith, Meredith is like one of the first people I refer people to when I'm booked. You, obviously.
Oh, really?
Yes, you're on the list. Most of the time you're already booked, but whatever.
No.
But yeah, like it's the nature of it. Like, we want them to succeed. We want them to do well on their own as well. And I second shot for Meredith.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Meep, meep.
Yeah. That's like I haven't second shot for any of my second shooters. I really
You haven't second shot in like however long.
5 years.
Imagine me bossing you around.
No.
You don't want to work for me.
Absolutely not. No. Last time I second shot was for Liz, white pair.
This man makes me go and make him a plate of food. and bring it back to him?
Because I'm shooting the details.
Oh, because that takes 30 minutes.
It's one of the responsibilities that I lay out for every second shooter is if I'm photographing the details in the reception room, go get me a cocktail hour plate. I like sliders.
Whatever, I do
Chicken
it anyway.
fingers, fries.
I just go get him all the kid food.
Mac and cheese, sushi, if they're sushi. You gotta get me a couple pieces.
But anyway, yes, like,
but no. So the next phase of second shooting is becoming an associate photographer. And for anyone who's not aware what an associate photographer is, that is somebody that a photographer, like say my business, Michael Casara Photography, would hire a photographer to work in my stead on a wedding day. So I am not there on a wedding day. They are representing my brand on a wedding day. I have had associate photographers. Meredith is actually my main associate photographer. She did 6, I think maybe 7 weddings for me last year as my associate. So I personally, if I'm going to hire an associate photographer, that is somebody I trust with my life.
Yeah.
150% trust.
Haven't done it yet.
Okay. There has only been one photographer, actually 2, if she was still here, my cousin Frankie, who was my main second for 7 years. But Meredith was my only photographer since my cousin that I would trust with my life because
wow, bro.
I'm just,
sitting right here.
I'd probably trust you too. I don't know. But Meredith knows how my business works in and out. Like she was with me the longest. She's done 60 weddings with me. So like she knows how I run a show and everything like that. And last year, she was a vital resource for me to grow my business. So it has to be somebody you know and trust. And she was like the one person to that point.
Yeah.
We didn't have a podcast at the point. We didn't talk that much.
Correct. Fine.
We didn't
Fair.
talk that much.
Fair.
I didn't know who you were. Like, we worked together like 3 times.
You don't know me?
Yeah. Now I know you.
Have you never heard of me?
Now I know you a little too well. Oh. But no, having somebody that you can count on is the most important part.
It's huge
in finding an associate.
Yeah.
So, what I like, a lot of people are like, well, what does an associate photographer do? Like outside of just take the photos on the wedding day? Well, personally, I want my associate photographers to get to know the couples. Mm-hmm. So this is a requirement. After a couple inquires with me and they meet with me and they want to move forward, and I lay out like the whole associate collection that I have and what I offer. And the associate collection includes like who you will be working with. So I have information about Meredith on there, breaks down like who she is, what she does, all that stuff. I break down what the collection entails, like what you're getting. Like usually the associate collection is a little smaller, less time involved, like less photos back, everything like that. And the collection's a little smaller in terms of price tag. But I lay that out and the couple wants to move forward with the associate collection. Once they sign the contract with me, my associate then meets with the couple.
Yeah.
So Meredith sets up a meeting with the couple, a video chat, gets to know them throughout that whole process. And I do vet the couple. Like I know Meredith's personality. And this is the other part you should know about your associates is the fact that like you want to know that they're going to gel well with the couple.
Correct.
So you want to make sure like, hey, like they're going to be a good vibe. Like, like they're going to vibe well together. It's going to be an easy day and stuff like that. So I would vet the couples. Then I would have Meredith meet with them, do an hour meeting, get to know them. And I want the couple to be there. The bride and groom, the groom, the bride, whatever. I want them to be there and like both of them be there. So she gets to meet both of them.
Yes.
Usually my associate collection, if it included an engagement shoot, she's capturing that. So she's going to get to know them a little bit more. The couple is in my CRM portal, Honeybook. So I will be the main source of communication for them leading up to the day. But Meredith would chime in, my associate would chime in on anything. Like if they have questions or anything like that.
I know that you can add a team member to the portal.
Exactly.
So
I lay out the schedule in terms of the timeline on the day. I'm doing all that work, but I will like work with Meredith and make sure like, hey, does this work for you? Yeah. All of that. And then on the wedding day, Meredith's the one showing up. My associate's the one showing up. They're still getting like happy wedding day post from me. They're still getting all that stuff. Then what happens after the fact, after the wedding's captured, Meredith drops off the cards. My associate drops off the cards to me. and I'm the one editing those photos.
Yes.
You get a lot of, some people have their associates edit. Personally, I edit my associate work, and I'm the one delivering the teasers and all that stuff. So that's how I work with associates. I don't know if you've had an associate.
I have not. I'm not ready.
So
it's very difficult for me to relinquish that type of control. So I'm not there yet. I probably would trust Joe or Meredith to do like an incredible job, but it's still very nerve-wracking for me. Yeah,
I would now trust the three of you because you worked enough with me that I would be like totally fine with the three of you associate shooting. But also, I'll be honest with you, for me as a solo business owner, it added a lot to my plate last year. Like I did 41 weddings, the 35 and 6 associate. It really was a lot of extra work for me on top of the podcast and things like that. So, but I didn't do any associate weddings this year. And plus I wanted Meredith to kind of fly. So
get out of here.
Like the goal for me with her, and I kind of established that with her. I was like, if you want to do this and you want to establish yourself as a photographer in this area and you want to go full-time one day, you know, you're going to have to shoot on your own. And like, I trusted her. I knew she could do it, and she crushed it. So, you know, now we're seeing her shooting 20 plus weddings.
She's great.
Yeah, we love her. We're going to have her on the show.
She's great.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time with her and in Ireland, her and Steven. My kids call her Aunt Mary and Uncle Steve. So, you know.
My son calls her Merida.
Merida. Yeah. Christian calls her Merida too. Yeah. But they're now Aunt Mary and Uncle Steve. So
cute.
But no. So I think if you're gonna hire an associate photographer, make sure you trust them with your life. Make sure you know they're reliable. Make sure that they could do the job for you. That's the most important thing. But yeah, I think like with this is like, you know, the goal for any second shooter is like the whole goal for a main photographer in working with second shooters is, you know, you want them to be able to grow and learn.
Right.
But, you know, you shouldn't try to be hands-on with your second shooter, right?
No,
you know?
yeah. Like,
you shouldn't be like over their shoulder telling them what to do. No. Let them create.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. We made this into a clip. The best second shooters are the ones that are not standing right next to you, the ones that are floating around, being artsy, doing their thing, and like really surprising you, you know? They're using different lenses. Like Mike, when I shoot with Mike, I ask him, hey, what do you have on your cameras right now so I can shoot with a different lens, you know, or do you want me to shoot long lens, or do you want me to wider tight, you know, one of those different perspectives, always, but you don't want to hover.
No.
Yeah. You know, like that's gross.
Don't want to hover.
You don't want to hover. You want to let them do their thing. And then afterwards, if like you're looking at the images and you think that they need maybe a little bit of critique or feedback, you can give that to them. Just be polite and respectful about it. I've had one second shooter where I was not pleased with the quality of the work in the end product. And I had to do a lot of culling, more than 50% of what they turned in. And, you know, I had a conversation with them about it, and it didn't go very well. And I just knew from that point on, it was just kind of like, all right, this relationship is not going to move forward because that person did not want to, or wasn't receptive to feedback.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to be able to have those tough conversations too. If you don't have like the best experience with a new second shooter, they need to be able to hear feedback and grow from it.
Yeah. I always like to, if it's a new second and they're young and they want to learn and they're like kind of starting out in the industry, I'll always do a review with them, like on the edited photos that I choose and why I chose them and everything like that, and then kind of go through everything with them, like, hey, like you could have maybe improved here, but you did this great, like, you know. So like as a second shooter, you really should be open to like a little bit of constructive criticism, because it's necessary in the industry to, you know, learn and grow.
Yeah. When I say it didn't go well, it was just not well received, you know, and that's fine. It just wasn't the right relationship for me. But my other seconds, like when, actually, it's like no one ever really required any feedback after that. But, you know, you go through the job, you see what it is, and you have to make sure that the quality of the work that you're looking at aligns with what you produce yourself.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, you know that that's not the right person for you. But then sometimes they turn in their shit and you're like, fuck, this is better than what I do.
Oh yeah. So many times, like I see like your shit, Joe's shit, Meredith's shit. I'm like,
Wish I took that.
I'm like, fuck, man. You know, Meredith, like at her sister's wedding in Ireland, like she wanted to get the reverse shot of the church because I was solo shooting in Ireland. So she was a bridesmaid. She literally had her camera and harness in the back of the church, walked down the aisle, circled back around, waited for Brennan to walk down the aisle, waited for her sister to walk down the aisle, got the reverse shot. And then I was like, put the harness down. Like, you're done. Like, you know, like you don't have to do anything.
She just kept going.
No, she shot like the whole day. She shot 2,000 photos.
She probably had so much fun, though.
She did. It's her sister's wedding. I yelled at her later. But no, like, you know, that's how much I like love her and I trust her and all that stuff. Is like, I honestly, at points, I was just like, oh yeah, Meredith's like in that shot, and I didn't ask her to do it. But that's how you should be with your seconds. Is like you trust them; they're an extension of you, and you don't even have to think about it.
Meredith's like a family member at this point.
Oh yeah, it's like please, I'm indoctrinated into the Shine
so embarrassed that we talked about her so much.
Oh yeah, this whole episode is dedicated to Meredith.
We love you.
Now the last question, we're going to touch on this briefly, okay? But a listener wrote in this question, and I actually wanted to talk about it. Now, do you think second shooters should be paid more if they aren't allowed to use those images in their portfolio?
No,
I don't think so either. No.
That's the agreement. You know, if you want a second shoot, you know, Mike and I have already said that we allow our seconds to use the photos in their portfolio, but if a photographer says this is the rules are rules, no. If that doesn't work for you, then you find somebody else to second shoot for.
That's all.
That's it.
And it's not a slight against you wanting to second shoot or anything like that. And we understand you want to use those images. Personally, both of us, we will let a second shooter use those images for their portfolio on social media, barring stipulations, things like that. But personally, no, you're doing your job in your service for that day is to, you know, be a second photographer and capture different angles and work with the main photographer, be an extension of them. So yeah, I agree. I don't think they should be paid more if you know they aren't allowed to use the images.
I pay my second shooters based on experience and trust.
Yeah.
So like, you know, Mike does the same. Like he, you know, I got paid a certain amount last year, went up.
Yeah.
Because I'm amazing.
Yeah, my seconds get a raise every year. Usually I start them at $70 an hour, which is like $700 a wedding. Usually, like then they go up like $50, like pretty like they go up a little bit more. It's like $75 an hour. I think most of my seconds are at 75 to like $80 an hour now, stuff like that. And then associates for me, they get a hard number. Personally, is $2,000 to shoot and do all the work and stuff like that. So,
and some of y'all might think that that's high, but I ask you, what price tag are you going to put on somebody that you trust enough to do that?
Listen, I pay my associate photographers very well. So, and I know that's high. A lot of people are like, oh, I pay my associate $100 an hour. Personally, $200 an hour for me. Like that, I just think they deserve it. So that's just me. You want to associate for me, like, you know, like that's you gotta earn that. And you know, the only one I had so far was Meredith, but she earned that. So
I have got to say though, like I'm seeing in some of the groups, unscripted or local photographer groups, they're like paying second shooters trash wages. Yeah. Like what, guys, $30 an hour is not acceptable.
No, it's not.
For a second shooter. It's just not.
No, I don't even think 50 is acceptable anymore.
No.
You know, so it's inflation and all this stuff. You gotta pay a comparable wage to a second photographer who's putting in a lot of time and effort throughout that entire day.
That's also, you know, a lot of the reason things did not work out at the studio I was at was people were not getting paid what the worth what the job that they were doing, you know, like it's, if you want to keep loyal, reliable people who are good at what they do, you have to pay them appropriately or they will leave.
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap this baby up.
Why would we wrap a baby up?
I don't know. But you wrap a baby up.
I guess you swaddle.
You swaddle.
Let's swaddle this baby.
Let's wrap this baby up. Lauren.
Yes.
Where can they find you?
You can find me at LaurenO'BrienPhoto.com and Lauren O'Brien Photo and the Feral Photog on Instagram and TikTok. Michael, where can they find you?
At Michael Casara Photo on Instagram, TikTok, as well as my website. And you can find us at the Vendor Table Pod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as
our Facebook group.
Guys, it's been fun. We'll catch you next time.
Okay, bye.